Maxwell House Coffee presents the MGM Theater of the Air, where tonight, producer Joseph L. Mankiewicz presents several scenes from his latest picture, The Shining Hour, based on the famous stage success by Keith Winters. The Shining Hour is the story of a fascinating, spectacularly attractive woman and of her marriage into an old and honorable family. The woman, Olivia Riley, played by Joan Crawford, was born Maggie Riley and has fought her way up from New York's East Side to stardom as a dancer in fashionable nightclubs. The man is Henry Linden, played by Melvyn Douglas, the head of a family that's been distinguished in America for generations, a family that doesn't relish the prospect of this new marriage. In fact, David Linden, Henry's brother, has flown to New York to protest this marriage. David, played by Robert Young, arrives unannounced at a huge party Olivia is giving to announce her engagement and finds Henry with Olivia at the bar.
Hello, Henry.
David, hello. What are you doing here? Why didn't you let me know you were coming? Olivia, this is David.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Where are you staying, David? How long are you going to be here?
I don't know how long. I came east to talk to you.
Oh. Well, suppose I go sober up a few of my guests. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Perhaps I'll see you later.
Well, now, David, what in the name of Linden brings you here?
The name of Linden, Henry.
Oh, very melodramatically put. All right, let's get it over with. I guess the library will be empty. It's the farthest from the bar. Here we are. As soon as I can find the light.
Oh.
Hey, what's it?
Oh, a couple of bookworms.
Well, you might give a person a little warning. Come on, Joan. Let's find a quiet room.
Friends of yours?
They're friends of each other, I hope. Well, what's on your mind? I suppose Hannah asked you to come.
She's worried about you.
I've never been in better health in my life.
She feels if you came home for a while, perhaps your sense of values...
Mm-hmm. Would become her sense of values. Is that it? Your point, or Hannah's, it doesn't make any difference, is that Olivia's not good enough for the Lindens. My point is there isn't a Linden good enough for her.
And as points go, it's a pretty shabby one, Henry.
You're no judge of that, David.
Perhaps not, but you should be. You've got eyes and ears. Look around you. They're friends. Listen to what they say. The cream of cafe society. I'll take the village half-wit back home.
That's enough, David.
Why, you're behaving like a naive little schoolboy. We're not being prudes about this, but... Well, after all, why marry?
That's enough, David.
Henry.
Olivia.
There's a reporter out there, darling. Will you go tell him how deliriously happy you are?
Aren't you coming too?
I've already told him.
Well, I'll be back in a moment.
I gather you're not drunk with joy over this marriage.
I think you're making a mistake.
You mean you think Henry's making a mistake?
Both of you. You see, I don't think you'd like us much.
You mean you wouldn't like me?
Why don't you let me decide what I mean by what I say?
So I'm to give up Henry because his brother's insufferable and smug.
All right, you want it? Here it is. When Henry and I walked in here just now, we interrupted a very romantic couple.
Well, you should have called.
I was too busy thinking of what would happen if he ever walked in and found you in the same situation.
Tell that to the boys behind the barn.
That, Miss Riley, is exactly what I mean.
So Henry and Olivia are married and fly to Wisconsin to the home of the Lindens. Hannah, the elder sister to David and Henry, makes no effort to conceal her dislike of Olivia. But Judy, David's wife, adores her on sight. Olivia and David are irresistibly drawn to each other. In spite of themselves, they are slowly but certainly yielding to their emotions. This afternoon, they've gone for a horseback ride together.
Oh, how beautiful, David. My idea of a swell view was always Central Park from the top of a bus. This sort of thing only existed on backdrops in musical comedies.
Like it?
Like it? Oh, but you're so used to it. You don't know the thrill of suddenly coming upon something so beautiful it takes your breath away.
I think I do.
I wish Judy had been able to ride with us. I like her.
She adores you.
I detest women as a rule. I know too much about them, but... David, do you know how lucky you are?
Yes, I know exactly how lucky I am.
I'm glad.
Why should it make any difference to you?
Because I want you to be happy.
Why?
Well, because I... David, let's not get into one of those pointless discussions.
I've hardly been civil to you. Why should you want me to be happy?
Well, look, David. See the little knoll beside the lake?
Yes.
We're going to build our home there, Henry and I.
You've arrived here hating me. What's made you change?
It'll be all the homes I've ever wanted to have rolled into one. Henry and I have compromised on ideas. Everything's to be my way.
Olivia.
It'll be white and colonial, with a big porch facing the lake for me to eat crackly pig on and get fat, and a huge green lawn that slopes to the water's edge, with horseshoe pitching for me and a dainty little tea house for Henry.
Stop talking about Henry and you and your rotten little house.
David.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said to you in New York. For even coming to New York.
It's all right. I forgave you then, forgive you now, and a blanket pardon for all future trespasses.
Oh, you were right to have slapped me. I was so smug and complacent.
It's all right,
sure.
David. Let's forget about it.
The conviction grows in Judy that David loves Olivia as he's never loved her. She suspects Olivia loves David, too, and she's desperate in her anxiety. Tonight, the Lindens are giving a party to celebrate the new house that Henry and Olivia have built. In the midst of the festivities, Henry comes upon Judy sitting all alone in a secluded spot.
I'm in a gay dancing mood, Judy. Come on, we'll toss off a gavotte.
Oh, no, thank you, Henry.
Eat?
I'm not hungry.
Don't tell me you're moonstruck.
Yeah. Isn't it awful? An old married woman. I'm in love with David. Henry, in case you didn't know, I'm in love with David.
You've told me that at regular intervals ever since you were 8.
Have I? Tonight it's as if I'd never felt anything before.
And when you were 13, you nearly put my eye out for hitting him because he hit you.
He was right to hit me. I'd been nasty. Henry, how have I changed?
What do you mean, changed?
I'm 24 now. What's become of me since then?
Well, for one thing, the freckles are gone. You've become lovely to look at.
Become. Now, I don't like the word. It sounds so gradual, so unexciting.
Do you want to be exciting, Judy?
Yes, more than anything.
Why?
Oh, so that David might look at me and suddenly know that he loved me. So that he might hear a song and think of me. Or come into a room I just left and know I'd been there.
Judy, everything's all right, isn't it? Between you and David.
Yes, of course, Henry.
Truly?
Truly, Henry. Everything is exactly as it always has been.
You had me worried there for a moment.
Henry, what did you feel when you first saw Olivia, the very first instant?
That I loved her?
Did you care if she loved you?
At first.
Yes, and then?
Then nothing mattered very much, except that I loved her.
And there was nothing you'd ever want more than just to have her there for you to love.
Judy?
Oh, she's so beautiful, Henry, so exciting.
Judy, can you come here a minute?
Yeah, coming. I'll be back in a moment, and we'll toss up that gavotte. What is it, Hannah?
Where's David? He promised to mix the punch.
I haven't seen him.
Where's Olivia?
It happens they're not together, if that's what you mean.
Why, I didn't mean anything. Everybody thinks every time I open my mouth lately I mean something.
Well, don't you? I'll go look for David.